Hi guys, welcome to Missy's Imaginings. Today I thought it would be fun. I've started into a new realm of creativity. So I have started my hand at trying to make eyeballs for the BJDs. So here's a couple that I've done here, and they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I've enjoyed learning and kind of deciding some things that I like and that I don't like. So I thought, well, and then this was just scrap. So, you never know what you're going to come up with. But I've had fun experimenting with some things. And I thought, well, why don't we just go ahead and document this process. And then if you want to try it, there you go. So I have an array of things that I've slowly added to the process. So, of course, I'm trying my hand at resin. So I went just on Amazon and I found a little resin kit. It came with 3 of these bottles of resin. Then it also included a little mixing cup. It included some little silicone spatulas, some gloves, and a little UV lamp. Then I wanted some colorants, so separately I purchased a little kit of colorants. It came with a whole bunch, so I have a whole bunch of different colors that were all part of a little resin coloring kit. And you don't use that much, so just these little bottles is fine. I also knew that because I wanted to do eyes, I might run out of the white sooner than other colors. So I also got another thing of white separately. The next thing I needed, of course, were molds. Some of the molds I think I purchased on eBay and others I purchased on Amazon. But there's lots of collections that they have lots of different sizes of actual eyes with different sizes of iris. And I liked it because it gives you a lot of choices depending on what you want to make. Personally, when I'm looking for eyes, I have a lot of realistic faces. And so if the pupil and the iris get too big, they look kind of fake, or they might even look a little alienish. So I like to find options where I still have the size of eyeball that will fit in an SD socket, but I want the pupil and the iris to be small because the actual eye opening itself is very small, and I don't want that colored part of the iris to fill up the entire eye cavity. So this fits into the socket inside the head, but then the pupil is small enough to work on the doll of choice. So I like having lots of options like that. And the little mold sets that I bought have a whole bunch, so you can pick whatever you like. And this is only a small sampling. I'll go ahead and insert a photo of like all my stuff. I just bought a little box with different size sections that you can customize. You can get them like at Walmart in the fish and tackle area or the crafting section. So anyway, I'll show kind of how I have things organized. I have found that the little silicone spatulas that come with some of these things, I don't really like them because they're too floppy. So when I'm trying to scrape something out, they just bend, and so you have to have your fingers like down here, and even then see how flimsy that is. So I don't really like these. I did get some at Dollar Tree, and there was the little cups, and it had some little silicone spatulas that I thought I'd try because this is thicker. I thought it might be, but it's still pretty floppy, so I haven't used this end. I did try this end for stirring, but even this is floppier than I want. So I reverted to some small stir sticks, and I break them in half so that I'm not wasting them because I discard them after use. So I break them in half because then they're plenty long enough for me to stir, but they're nice and stiff, and they also do work well for scraping out. but I did look on Amazon and I found some little makeup spatulas that are a hard plastic, and there's like 100 for $4.99. So I did order those, but they're not here yet. So I have those. Then toothpicks, of course, I like to use toothpicks for once we pour the resin, I pour a little bit into the mold, and a toothpick point is really good for stirring around that iris to make sure the resin seeps all the way down into that crevice so that it doesn't leave any air bubbles on the edges. So I like toothpicks, and of course they're, you know, easy to get and then dispose of as well, and they're stiff enough to stir. So that's colorants. Also, I like to use, I have mica powder that I use in my soap making, and this will always have a really pretty sheen to it. So I have lots of different colors, but I just thought I'd show a couple. I've purchased some from Brambleberry, where they have soap making supplies, and then I also got some at a craft store that came, there were like 6 little vials like this with different colors of mica powder that has a shimmer. You can also use some acrylic paints. So I've tried a couple different things to experiment with what I like. What I have found is when I'm making the pupil in the actual little iris opening, my challenge has been to get the black resin to stay locally placed where I put it and to kind of dome, and it kind of wants to flatten out and spread. So I don't know if I'm putting in too much colorant so it kind of waters down the resin, because this is liquid colorant. But I thought what I could try, I also have 2 sizes of black beads. So I have the little seed beads for the really tiny eyes, and then I have the little bit larger black beads that could go in irises that are a little bit larger. And then I can mix a little bit of black resin and just tap it into the hole with a toothpick if the hole rounds to the top, so that you can see, because you don't want a hole, you know, in your pupil. But if it is hard to get it placed so that it sits right, then I can position it with the hole and the toothpick, let it sit there for a minute, then I can use the black resin and just tap it into that hole to fill it up so that my pupil will be solid. So that's what I'm going to try. I haven't tried it yet, but I thought that's my next idea. I also have some of these real pretty foil colors that came with, I think, I don't remember, I can't remember if I bought them or if they came with one of the kits. I'm not sure. A lot of it came all together, but I have some iridescent blue and opal white, iridescent white, so those have a lot of shimmer. Then I have some copper, gold, and silver foil flakes that once you put it in and kind of stir it around, it breaks up and just gets real sparkly. So I like that as well. So I think that's all my supplies. So we'll kind of get this out of the way. Then I also have a couple paint brushes in case I'm using the acrylic paint for color. And I just have small little tips. I don't do a lot of detail work at this point. I tried it, but it didn't really show up on my very first batch, and they were awful, and I threw them away. They were just bad. And then I just have a little bit of water if I'm using the paint so I can clean my brushes. So I think that's all of my, oh, and then the important thing, because I'm using UV resin, it came with a little lamp, but my little lamp has a USB cord. It's not battery operated, so you have to be able to plug it in to something with either a USB adapter or a USB slot in the extension cord. So I just bought a little UV flashlight that will operate with batteries so that I can hold that over things and cure with this. And it's really handy. I think this was about $7, I think, but I found it on Amazon as well. So pretty much everything except for like the paints, because you can get acrylic paints pretty much anywhere, and the mica powder from Brambleberry. Other than that, it was all in a craft store, but it was all off Amazon, which was the easiest place for me to do a search and find what I wanted. and a couple things even at Dollar Tree. I think you can even get little stir sticks at Dollar Tree in their new crafts section. So that's a look at supplies, and I have some white parts of the eyes already poured that are already cured that we can unmold, but I thought since we're going to do a video, I'll go ahead and mix up a little bit of white resin and pour a set of eyeballs. And I thought, well, maybe we'll go ahead and try, which size do I want? I don't want that big of eyeball opening. These ones are a little bit larger iris. We'll try these. I haven't used this one yet. So we'll kind of clean up some of this so I have more workspace, and then we'll come back and mix up a little bit and pour some eyeballs. So the first thing I will do is pour a little bit of resin, and I like this because there's relatively no order, and with the little flashlight it has a really fast cure time. So usually I will just pour, and I'm just going to do 2 here because I have some already done. So I'm just going to pour out a little bit, and I use the toothpick to just kind of clean off the edge of my bottle, and there we go, make sure that's clean. And then I always cap it right away. It came with 3 bottles, so I just wrote an open on this one so I know which one I've already opened, just for my ease. So there's a little bit of resin, just a little, and then I use the white, and I just let a few drops in. We'll start with 3, and I'm using the toothpick, and I'm just gonna mix and start getting this stirred around. And if it looks too translucent, then I'll add a little bit more. And that's not stirring very well, so I'm gonna clean that off. Now I have a little bit of paper towel here because the resin, until it's cured, it just stays really wet and it can be really sticky. So I just lay that inside and kind of let it absorb some of the moisture. Then I can use it again, but it's not getting all over everything. And see how much better this works to stir. So we'll just kind of stir that in there, and it's still pretty translucent, pretty light. And I don't like really scrub mix. We'll try 2 more drops, and there we go. Just kind of adding a drop or 2 until it gets to the color that I think I'm gonna like. And that's still pretty translucent. It's getting much better, but it's still pretty clear, so probably 1 more drop. There we go, and I'll cap this. And this is Sigwang epoxy resin colorant, and like I said, it was a kit with a whole bunch of different colors, so it was just a fast way to get a lot of variety. So there we go, that's the color I want. Hopefully that'll show in my camera. So now when I'm pouring this, I'm going to go back to the toothpick because I have a little bit more control, and I don't want to waste any, so I like to kind of scrape off my stick. There we go, and I'll tuck it in here just to get it out of the way. So then I'm just going to pour a little bit. Oh, a little bit needs to be mixed. So just a tiny little bit, and then it's easy to use the toothpick to close that off. And then I'm going to stir around just to make sure that that resin goes all the way down and around the little bump that will be the iris, or the inside of the eye. And I'll do another one. Like I say, we're just going to pour a little bit, and there we go, tap it off. And this resin, I don't know about other ones that you have to actually mix. This is ready-made. You don't have to do anything to it except add your color. But some, I don't know how well they don't bubble, but this doesn't seem to be horrible about having bubbles in it. I've had really good luck and haven't really had to fight that. Now this will stay liquid, so I want it out of the way because I don't want the UV light to affect that. And then I'm just gonna put my UV light on. And I usually do this for about a count of 30. And I'm about 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I'll move to the other eye. Do kind of the same thing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15. This is what takes up most of the time, is actually just waiting for things to cure. Probably at 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Then because these are so small, I also like to put the light underneath it and cure for about 20 seconds. 5, 6, 7. I hope this isn't boring, that I'm kind of doing it in real time. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. And then move to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And you can kind of tell they're not the exact same depth. I haven't had any problem with that making a real difference. But I do like to shine the light from underneath and the top. I think it just kind of helps it a little bit better. A couple more seconds there. Then I can go ahead and pour the rest on here. And hopefully I've mixed up the right amount for two. I don't like having a lot of extra. Now, because I'm going to be kind of scraping out my bowl for the second half to fill these, I am going to use this just because it's a little bit easier to get it to come out. We're going to go up to the edge. Then we'll come fill the other one. Scrape this out. So see, it's been a pretty simple process as far as getting this part, which was I used to buy ready-made plastic eyeballs that then you get the little, oh, what do they call it? The little clear part that goes on top. So all you have to do is add the color and then pop the little plastic on the top. And I've done that before, but I thought it'd be fun just to make my own. So here again, I hope the little plastic spatulas that I got will work better. There, we'll try to get everything cleaned out of my little bowl in here. And the back isn't as important as the front because obviously it's inside the doll's head, but you do want it to be, you know, full enough so that it's, you know, full eyeball. And it looks like I got it pretty much evened out. Yeah. So that's all right. Then a lot of times, well, I'll get that far, I guess, later. So we're going to keep that here. Now I'm going to go ahead and tuck this in. So here's our final pour. So we'll go ahead and cure it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Move to the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And sometimes I kind of maybe over cure. I'm not sure. But I just want to make sure that they get cured well. And of course they will harden a little bit more over time. So the ones that I've already made are harder today than they were yesterday. Sometimes they still might feel a little bit sticky. But yeah. And then because I added this, I'm going to go ahead and go underneath so that the light can come onto like the sides as well. And I don't know if that's necessary, but that's just what I've been doing. And I just kind of wanted to make this real time so that you could see, you know, if you're going to try it, kind of what you can expect for a time frame on putting these together. So there we go. And do the top a little bit more. Like I say, I don't know if it's overkill. I'm not sure. Because I don't know that much about it, but I know what I've done, and what I've tried, and what I like, and what I didn't like. And there we go. So now we'll take a look, see if they're cured. and they'll pop right out. And there we go. So there's the little white part of the eye, and comes out. Like I say, it's a little warm, a little sticky. So I'm not going to actually put the color in this pair, just because we just got that done, and I want to let it sit a little bit. But sometimes even after I pull them out, you can kind of do this to get the UV light more directly right on the top edge where the front of the eye is. So we'll just put that on there a little bit, kind of help it out a little bit. And then I'll just let these sit for a while before we move on to these. So we'll put them to the side. But then I do have some tiny ones that are unmolded already that are very small. So I thought we could do a pair of these little tiny ones to use the tiny seed beads. Put those over there. And then I have 2 more sets that have different size irises. So we can pull out a pair of these. Have very small irises. And then these ones, let's see what this size is, also pretty small. So these eyeballs I think are just a little tiny bit bigger than the first pair. So I kind of group them together in pairs just so I don't get them mixed up. And since I have these all out, I'll go ahead and add a little bit more UV light on them, just to kind of finish curing them off. Like I say, I don't know if this is entirely necessary. It's just kind of what I have discovered I like to do, just to add a little bit more insurance that they're going to cure up the way you want. And there we go. A little bit boring, I know. And then this one. So most of your time is going to be spent with a cure light as opposed to actual coloring. So I thought since we have 3 pair, we can go ahead and try to do 3 different types of color. We can use paint in one and mica in one, and then some of the foil in one. And but I'm gonna try, let's see, maybe I think I'm gonna, oh, these all have really small irises, so I'm going to use the tiny seed beads. So once we get ready for the eye pupil, we'll use this bowl, which still has a little bit of wet resin, but we're going to use that again for some resin and black to, like I say, dab that little tiny dollop into the bead to hold it in place. So that's our next step. So I'm going to take a breather because I will need to rearrange a couple things, and then we'll start working on coloring. Okay, so for this pair, I thought I'm going to do some green eyes with a little bit of a silver sheen in them. And I'm going to use the paint, just so you can see kind of how I use paint. And so I'm going to start with a very fine brush. And like I say, I'm not an expert, but this is what I did. So I get a little bit of paint, and I'm just going to paint the inside. And just fill that entire cavity with green. And when I get some in the bottom, then I kind of, and like I say, it's just a tiny bit. You don't need very much. And then I kind of use the brush to brush from the center up to the top edge of the opening, just to ensure that there's lots of green color all the way in that opening. And this isn't very dark. And then I kind of let it dry and then do one more coat. So because it's kind of very light and kind of translucent in there. I hope that's showing. Maybe oh, sorry. I have to get orientated better where my camera is so you can see. So this is one, and we'll set it down. We'll do the same thing in the next one. And then bring the color all the way to the top edge of the opening. Sorry about no music. I have found that even when I'm trying to put music in, I go to a site that has royalty-free music, but I still have people that try to do like a copyright thing on it. It's like, this is all supposed to be free music, so sorry that there's no tunes to accompany the work here, but it just got to be a battle to find anything that was just free and available to use. So there we go, and I'll let those dry. So while those are drying, then I just use the water to clean my brush, and dab it on the paper towel there. So my brush is clean, and of course cap this until I'm ready to do the second coat. Then for the tiny ones, I wanted brown, and this brown, I've had to kind of try to get it to mix back in, so it's been kind of a battle, but we'll try it. And so I'm going to use the brush again and get some of the paint. As you can tell, it's not as creamy as the other one was, so there's not as much pigment here. So I might have to do a couple. And it's more liquidy, so it's very light. But that's a brown. And I'll let that dry. So once it comes time to do the color part, this doesn't take very long. So hopefully it's a process that you can enjoy. If you like projects that you can do in one day and then clean up your mess and move on to something else, because it doesn't take very long. So there, we'll let that dry, and then I'll have to come back and add some more color because that's very light. But if I let it dry, then the next coat sticks a little bit better. And there's some little paint strip. So, and I have tried stirring this, but this one's, I think it's getting a little old or something. Then for the next pair, I wanted to use blue, and so I thought I'll go ahead and do some resin in blue. And because the pupils are going to be black, which is going to be darker, I can go ahead and use this same little bowl. I just like I like reusing if it seems like it's going to be feasible, but I only need a little tiny bit, so I'm just going to do a little tiny pour. There we go. Well, maybe a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Then again, I'll clean the toothpick, put the cap back on because you don't want that spilling. Okay, and this time I'm going to try a little bit of blue mica. So now I have to decide on the best way to get some mica transferred, and I think I'm just going to use a clean toothpick and drop it in like this. And mica, just so you know, if you've never worked with mica, it's really messy. Very, very messy. So we're going to go ahead and stir this. And it's just such a light powder that it's very, very messy. But it is a beautiful, shiny colorant. And so it makes really, really pretty eyeballs. And because I have some already poured of other colors, I may just use this up too. So I'm not going to be wasting any, but I'm just going to mix that up. real well. Make sure I get all that powder incorporated into the resin. And because these eyes are so tiny, rather than pouring, I'm just going to take and scoop some, as odd as it seems, with the tip of the toothpick. So there, see how there's a droplet on there? And I'm just going to drop it in. And get another droplet. Just a drop. Drop it in. That one had a little bit more, so we'll even that out. Okay, and because this is resin now, we're going to grab the lamp again, move that out of the way, and we're going to cure that. And while the ones we just poured seem pretty good, we'll probably, let's do those too. We'll do those with blue. That'll be fun. Alright, so we'll make some little tiny ones and then some bigger ones with the blue. And I'm not going to hold it as long because when I place the bead on top, I want it to still be a little bit soft. Okay, we're going to cure a little bit here. Just a little. Kind of get it to get a little sticky. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and put in the black. And this is why I just kind of use one bowl, because I can always add black to this and then darken it up, and then I'm not wasting it all. So now we'll go ahead and mix in that black, and then we can use that if I need to tap into those beads. So the black will kind of cover up all the blue. So this is kind of just what I do so that I'm not wasting any resin, and I'm kind of moving from the colors through light colors to dark colors so that nothing's being wasted. But because this has a lot of mica on it, I'm probably just going to throw this away. So I'm going to tuck it in the very corner of that paper towel. And then once I use this guy, he'll have to probably go in the garbage as well, because there's still some blue that I want to incorporate into that black. There we go. I hope this is helpful. Seeing some things in real time that might help with your creative projects. Oh, see, now I'm glad I didn't throw it away yet, because I will need something to tap that in. So there we go. Clean that off a little bit, but I won't be using it on clear, obviously, so tuck it in there. Okay, so now our beads, I have the larger ones for this pair and then smaller ones for the other pair. So let's see if my idea will work. So we'll grab a couple. I hope this isn't boring. If you like things in real time, hopefully this will be okay. And now some of these beads are shaped kind of oddly, so I'm going to pull out quite a few just so I can look for a couple that are more uniformly shaped. There we go. Okay, now I'll put these back. Okay, so I'll seal that, put it on there. Maybe that'll help place it a little bit easier. Okay, get this one, place that in the middle, and this way oh, he still kind of wants to move a little bit. Not too bad though. Did get a little bit of blue on there. So now I'll use a little bit of this black that we've mixed up to fill the hole. and press down a little bit. And then I might have to adjust and look at this. See, it looks like it's centered pretty well. Okay, so now we'll grab our lamp and cure. But I think I like this idea, so hopefully it will work. And you'd probably be able to press down a little bit more. So I don't know if we'll actually like how this turns out, but we'll try it for now. It looks like it's gonna be all right. Still looks a little wet. Okay, we'll cure it a little bit longer. So I'm gonna let these sit because we're gonna do all the clear part at the same time so that I'm only pouring once. And I'm going to go ahead and get my paint out and give the ones that have paint another coat, and I'm going to actually put the beads into these other ones, and but it's the same process, so I'll come back when I have more things ready. So I have more brown in the brown eyes, more green paint in the green eyes, and I have the pupils in all the little blue ones. So now I'm going to grab a little bit of silver flakes for the green, and some of the flakes are actually on just the edge of the actual bag, so I'm just going to grab those. And I have a little bit of resin already in the bowl here, and it's literally just tiny bits of flake that is needed, not hardly any at all. And depending on the level of sparkle that you want, it can be, you know, more or less. But I just need a little. I've got a couple more flakes here, and there's a lot of static there. So, I mean, truly, that's all. There's just a few little, but once you start stirring, that will break up. And I'm not putting in very much because I want the green eyes to have some sparkle, but I don't want to have so much sparkle in the resin that it colors up the green color. And so the more you stir, then it spreads that sparkle around. But it doesn't really color the resin, it just spreads the sparkle around. So I'm just gonna see how that looks. Just a few little sparkles. I might go ahead and add a little bit more, but like I say, I didn't want a ton because I want the green to come through. So let's see, I've still got more on the edge here. So there we have some more. We stir it up and it kind of moves around. Get some sparkle there. And I'm going to drop this into, just take a drop, and I'm going to drop it into the green, because I want the green to show through the silver sparkle there. Oh, there. That's a little bit too much. Another. Oh, that one had a lot in it. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and put our seed beads in place on this one. And these are the real tiny ones, so they're a little bit harder to get a hold of, but we'll do our best here. And we're just gonna drop it in there, and then I'll kind of, it looks like it's centered pretty well actually, so we'll just leave it there. I think if I try to move it around, I'll probably make it more messy. Then we'll drop one in here, and that one looks like it needs to be moved just a tad. Okay, and I think that'll work. Okay, time to cure. So we're going to cure that in place, and I'm just holding it a little bit, like I say, just to kind of get that bead solidified into its location. And then we'll go ahead and use a little bit of the black to tap into the hole in the bead. So now we'll try the brown. And for the brown, I want a little bit of gold, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit of gold to the clear that we have that has the silver in it. So just a tiny bit of gold sparkle that we'll add in that one. And we'll stir that around. And that mica shimmer, boy, it spreads pretty well. So that's just, we're going to use up the silver that was already in here and add a little bit of gold to it for the brown eyes. Okay, and a drop. And another drop. There we go. We'll fill up that space. Not all the way full, but there we go. So we've got some gold shimmer in those. And we're going to cure it just for a few seconds so it's still tacky, but it will hold that bead in place. We'll see if I can do a better job on these than I did on the green. Okay, so now we'll place the little seed bead on the end of the toothpick. Oh, maybe. There we go. Let's see if I can get it on there. All right. So we'll go ahead and let it drop in the center. There's one. And we'll try the next one. Okay. And then let's see if I can do better on this one than I did on the other. See that big lump there? I don't want that big of a droplet, but I need a droplet to fill the bead. Alright, let's cure that much. And hopefully this one worked better. And I have, let's see, another little pair of eyes that I think I'm just going to use up this black resin to fill them up and just have some actual dark black eyes. And then I don't have to worry about a pupil because I'm just going to fill it up with black resin. So these will be very dark eyeballs. And did I get too much? Maybe. That way we're trying to waste as little resin as possible. Okay. And we'll go ahead and cure that. And here again, I'm holding it for about 20 to 30 seconds. Now we're ready to put the clear on the very top. So I'm going to finish up this pair of eyeballs. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet, but I'll get these ready and then we'll go ahead and look at putting the clear dome on the top. Okay, so now for easier cleanup, I have a little bit of pink left that I added for this pair and a little bit of the black that I don't have any more eyes ready, so I'm just going to go ahead and call that a wash on this little bit that's still left in here. So I usually try to cure what's left in my little dish, because then it makes it so much easier to clean out, because then it just cures it and you just peel it right out. Where if you try to clean it when it's wet, it's kind of a mess, and I'm not sure even what kind of solvent would be best. So I just do this, and then I don't need any solvents. I just cure the resin that's in my little dishes. And when I was using the silicone spatulas, I also cured anything that was left on the spatulas, so that it was just easier to clean up. And then once these are done, I've kind of looked on YouTube a little bit, and to get any little residue or speckles out, I just use some cellophane tape to wrap the sticky side out, and just kind of dab it at the resin or the silicone pieces to get all of that residue out. So then we're going to set these aside, and the last thing we're going to do is pour clear, just totally clear resin, and we're going to use that to put on top of the eyeballs. Now I don't want to use any of these toothpicks because they've all been tainted with a little bit of color, so I don't want any color in the top dome part of the eye. And so I'm going to pour a little bit in my bowl. Oh, that was kind of a lot, but it might take more than I suspect, so we'll call that good. And clean the edge there. I always do that, clean the edge. Put the lid back on. All we have to do is put the dome on the top, which is kind of the last bit that you need to do. And so I get a little dollop, and I put it on the very top of the thing, and then gently swirl around with the toothpick to let it go down around the top there, and let it fall down into the eye. And I really do need better light in here. And then just kind of make sure it gets down around the ridge of the eyeball. Kind of work it around the pupil that we had going on there. Gently tip it down over the bead, down to the edge of the opening for the iris. There we go. Sorry I get quiet when I'm concentrating. So now, I don't know about a couple of these with the beads sticking out. It might end up being too tall, but we'll see here. I got a little bit of stuff on my finger. So then, that's not too bad of a bump. How's this one looking? Okay. Kind of spin it around so I can make sure that my dome looks nice and rounded all the way around, so I don't end up with, you know, like a tip on it. And put our little cure lamp on there. And I really like the bead option. It was so much easier than trying to do the little dot of black resin. So there we have the bigger irises on the blue, have that all curing with a clear dome on top. And some people try to take the resin and like completely cover the eyeball itself. Because this is the same kind of resin that I use to make the eyeball, I'm not trying to do that because it's hard to get it to flow evenly all the way down over the top without leaving like holes in it, so because it doesn't always spread down evenly. So now we'll go ahead and try the next one. So we get our little dollop of resin, put a drop on the top. Oh, I hope that's not too much. Maybe I can roll the stick there. Okay, dollop on this one. So it's just a little droplet, and then you kind of work it around. I think that one's complete. Now this one, and just work it around that bead to make a nice little dome on the top of the eyeball. And it kind of fills in the space from the top of the bead down to the edge of that iris opening. And let's see how the shape looks on that one. Might need a little bit more, still a little pointy. We'll round it out just a little bit more. Okay. So now we'll cure this one. And I'm just doing the curing right away because I don't want that little dollop of resin to move or slide down the eyeball. I want it to just stay domed on top of that bead. So I'm kind of doing one pair at a time to kind of cure that pretty dome. And then I'll kind of take a look and see if it looks like this one's a little taller, so I'll just take a tiny bit more, just a tiny bit, kind of clean this off now and move that around a little. There we go, just to make those a little more even. So there's a couple pair done. Okay, well I think this plan was a good one to use the beads for the pupil. It also adds dimension because you can see through the resin. So that's how I'm going to go ahead and put the domes on the top of all these and add a little bit more cure to these guys. And then once I get all the domes on the top, then we'll take a look at all of our finished little products and see how they turned out. Before we clean everything up, I thought I'd show, since I cured inside these, it still looks like it's all wet, but if you flip this out, then the resin just peels right off, and of course it's cured plastic now, so it just peels off, and then it can just be thrown away. So it just comes off like you're peeling I don't know if you ever did this when you were a kid, but you know, we'd put Elmer's glue on our fingers so we could peel it off. Am I the only one who did that? I don't know. I don't know if that's nostalgic for anyone. But, so yeah, it just peels right off. And then any little residue pieces that I don't get off, then I'll use tape to tap at that. Yeah, this one's already cured. So it just cures right up. So then tape will get the rest of this off. So, well, I got it on my fingers. I'll wipe that off, and I'll cure this up and then clean that up. But I thought that way you could see how you just kind of make sure it's cured and peel it off. So I'll finish curing this, and then I'll peel that off, and then we'll look at the eyeballs. So here are the finished products of what we made today. I'm trying to use my phone as a light so we can kind of get an idea of what they look like, because the lighting in here is really bad and to get close-ups of these is really difficult. So here's the blue pairs, the 3 blue pair that we did. Then we'll move over, there's the green ones, and then the pink ones, and the gold ones, and then the black ones. So that's the ones we did today. And then the ones I did the other day, there's the weirdo ones with extra resin that you can kind of see from what we did today how sometimes you end up with a little more in the pot. So I had some left over, so I just did some weird ones. Then I have a pair of like brownish with some gold in them, a pair of blue that I did, then a pair of like purple color. I don't know if that'll show up very well. And then a pair of gold. Those ones were the ones that turned out the best. But yeah, so that's my eyeball extravaganza. And so that's how I've been experimenting and trying them out. Hopefully it's informational for you and you can kind of see the process if you want to try it yourself. Like I said, most of these supplies I just got through Amazon and just kind of hunted for resin kits and coloring kits to kind of start out with a variety of options. And then you can also get the mica powder on Amazon, and you can get the little gold foil flakes on Amazon, I'm sure, and even little sheets that you can kind of crunch up yourself. So hopefully that's helpful and inspiring, and yeah, have fun trying it if you want to. Let me know in the comments if you're trying it and if it worked for you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.